Thank you, Sigourney, and thank you, Carol. Probably our best secretary at EPA ever. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if Rachel Carson and Diane Fossey had the chance to sit down and have a bite, maybe for lunch, maybe for tea, and a long conversation. What would they have talked about? And as a result, what would our world be like? My residence, my home is in Pittsburgh, in a farm where my late husband was born, my oldest boys were born, and which is still my residence, not Boston. And it's just down the river from Springdale, which is the home of Rachel Carson. And she went to Chatham College for Women in Pittsburgh, which has been celebrating everything Rachel Carson for quite a while, including 15 years ago, maybe 16 years ago, opening their first environmental center in a little women's college, naming it Rachel Carson. I was invited to Chatham to give a speech at that dedication 15 years ago and receive their first Rachel Carson Award from the school. Great honor. And last year, which was 100th anniversary of Rachel Carson in Pittsburgh, we celebrated it by putting on a major conference on health, the environment, and women, attended by men, of course, as well. We had 2,000 women, that's all the room could take, all day, with some of the world's, our country's really, top scientists. And we are repeating that, if anybody wants to come. We'll have more than 2,000 people this time, in September. And it will be technical, but also reflective of what the women wanted to know after they heard what they heard. It's important to do it. It's important to do it this year while we have a political campaign going on. I will invite both spouses to be there, either sex, doesn't matter. I will. And I hope they come. I want them to learn if they don't know, and if they do that, I want them to see and feel what's in that room. So those are some of the things that we all do in our everyday life, and sometimes we don't even recognize the impact and the interest and the sharing that we give one another. I have the feeling, though, that if everyone got the chance to watch you, Sigourney, bring Diane Fossey's struggle to life in The Gorillas in the Mist, that thousands and maybe millions would join in the declaration for the poachers and the butchers to get off her mountains. And thank you, Carol, and thanks to all of you. To those who did not know what she did in the 90s, and it was mentioned, she was very brave. She was a courageous voice who said, "You're wrong. What's good for the environment is good for our economy. It's not a choice of one over the other, it's both." Courageous women, indeed, courageous people, know how to do that. They know how to awaken a world to truth. But when they don't know, they also know how to ask questions. They know how to stop. They know how to look and how to listen and take the path of full resistance. But when they know they are right, they are right. And today, we are right about the assault on our planet. We are right to say that disappearing honeybees and frogs and birds and polar bears is a tragedy every second of the day. We are right to challenge studies that say chemicals are safe when we know they are not. We are right to be outraged mothers for every child who struggles with asthma because smokestacks still pollute our air. We are right to say no to arsenic and mercury and other poisons in our water. And we are right to demand efficient cars with flex fuel capability and good mileage, and no more war for oil. And we are right to want more organic farms and safer food. We are right to say that we can build and develop with care and use bamboo, smart windows, put gardens on rooftops, so many choices. We are right to weep when Mother Nature takes advantage of our indifference to the poor, the sick, and the forgotten every time a cyclone hits and an earthquake shakes. And we are right to care so deeply about this. And the naysayers are so wrong to think that they can get in our way. You see, in a way, Rachel was a mentor to each and every one of us. She stopped, she looked, she listened, and feared the silent spring. She had the intuition to write, one way to open your eyes is to ask yourself, what if I have never seen this before? And what if I knew I would never see it again? Imagine that. Your last glimpse of the snows on Kilimanjaro. Your last sight of a humpback whale cresting on the ocean. Your last gaze on an elephant crossing the plain at dusk. When you imagine that it's easy to do this work, when you imagine that, it is easy. And to make this moment on Earth really matter. And even though the necessity of protecting our planet is obvious to us, we must never stop listening and paying attention, especially to what the delusional critics are saying, even now, about Rachel Carson's words of wisdom. When her book turned 40, here's what some of the articles were titled: Rachel Carson's Genocide. 40 years of perverse responsibility. Silent alarmism, a centennial we could do without. And one magazine, Human Events, gave it an honorable mention as one of the 10 most harmful books of the 19th and 20th centuries. Can you believe that? How ignorant do they think we are? I'm sure you know from experience that whenever someone walks up to receive an award, the assumption is that the work is done. The task accomplished, the challenge met, the mountain climbed. But not this one. Not an award that bears the name Rachel Carson. As she wrote, I will protect our great Mother Earth. Join me or get out of the way. To be honored in her name, with her legacy and her unyielding call to arms, is to know that the work is just getting started. This is the beginning of our task. The challenge, the full sweep of what has happened to our oceans, our blessed creatures, great and small, our land, the water we drink and the air we breathe. The true challenge is just becoming visible. And right now, we are at the base of the mountain with the great climb of our lives before us. Thank you.